Okie dokie, let's get started then. So today we'll be playing through Variant Limits. I will be taking it from somewhat of an educational perspective because, well, I am a teacher by trade. So we'll be looking at it and seeing sort of how it applies to calculus, all of that kind of thing. Unlike some of my other streams, I won't pop out and sort of do all the written stuff for this because the graphics to represent this stuff are actually quite good in this game. So we'll just be sticking within the game itself. So I did start again just this morning just to make sure that it all worked and all of that. So I've got a rough idea of how it goes, but I didn't go too far, so we'll probably get rather a bit further today. Now I do hope you can hear in the background the in-game sound. I'm having a few problems with getting it to actually work and all that, so the microphone is having to pick it up. If you can't, I do apologise. I'll try and sort it for next time. So let's get into it. So let's just call this stream, makes it nice and easy to remember. There we go. Now we'll show subtitles, obviously it's a good idea. Yeah. And I'll just move the camera towards the speaker.
There's such beauty on our world, and in all that we have built. All this will be lost as the stars send us once more into darkness, or end us forever. But perhaps all is not yet lost. Equa, it's time. I will aid you if I can. But it is you who must rise to the challenge ahead. Equa, wake up.
Okay, so that sort of introduces it a bit. We're in a world which is going to be in danger of falling apart. So as we can see, sort of general standard controls, forward, back, left, right, and they also have the diagonal, which it's interesting they put that into the tutorial. Not a bad idea, given that this is a game designed for education. You're not necessarily going to be playing it with people who have played video games before. So move along. One thing I did notice, so I can't actually control where the camera goes. It can be a little bit bothersome.
Nor do I truly know who you are. But I know the planet is in grave danger if you do not act soon. It's confusing, I know. But you're going to have to trust me.
Yeah, so a classic beginning of I don't know where I am and I don't know who I am. But something bad is happening.
You'll need to master the panoptica implanted in your retina. Hold on, it will activate momentarily.
So
New panoptica access confirmed. Identify. Equa. Unregistered visitor. Identify. Solari. Registered entity of unknown origin.
Unknown, it says. As if we haven't been working together for months now. No, I mustn't get distracted. Preceptor, is Equa's staff configured for the local conditions?
Analysis suggests functional improvements can be attained by connecting to a suitable data node.
There's one ahead. Let's push onwards. You should be able to jump that safely.
I can mark gaps that I predict are safe to cross via self-propulsion on the Panoptica.
There's a lapis vox nearby.
So also with this game, with those jumps,
Access the recording.
they weren't
Affirmative.
sort of something I had control of.
At a data node.
This one.
They were me running towards it and then it made the jump. So obviously with a game like this, there is much more of a focus on the actual learning itself as opposed to the gameplay. The gameplay is pretty good considering, but I will probably make comments every now and again about how it could be improved. Just my own personal opinion.
Tonebar resonator configured. Updating Panoptica to display new interactions.
Try it out in the lapis here. We'll see what it says.
Is it working? It's recording? Amazing. We finally know it. The crystal fragment, shall we say the lapis box, is imprinting the audio frequencies in the footprint in the sand. Castor and I worked so well together. The tone box is a complete success.
One of the earliest successful uses of the lapis crystal at the dawning of the Third Age were to provide voice recordings. The lapis box technology imprints frequencies into the crystal lattice in a manner that is stable and long-lasting. Through a suitable device known as a tone box, these recordings can be accessed at a later date.
So it's quite fun that it does kind of use
Lost.
real technology adjacent ideas.
Confirm. However, you may disable the navigation path at any time should you acquire a desire to become lost.
So the path's going that way, but I'm just going to have a look over here because I didn't actually look over here last time. Is there anything?
Why
No.
is this door sealed?
There are no records of a door at this location.
Sometimes I think you purposefully set out to vex me.
Now, when it comes to game design, one thing I do like that they've got that banter between the two supporting characters, which it just makes it a little bit more interesting. And if you give people a reason to care, it means that they're invested. If they're invested, they're going to keep playing.
Observatory seems to
With
have
an educational game, the keep playing part is often the hard part.
I can mark walls that may be traversed by vertical ambulation on the Panoptica.
So I think these guys do a pretty good job of touching on those things that keep someone playing. There's mystery, there's a reason to keep going, there's relationships between characters, all of that kind of stuff.
But in truth, I am uncertain of its function. The technology here seems slightly more complex than these rifts can take us where we need to be. Although, even the Preceptor doesn't seem to know how they work.
Incorrect. Portals are activated by perambulation onto platforms.
That's not what I meant. But yes, please step on whenever you're ready. We must be going.
Oh dear. The portals are activated by walking onto the platform. Well done. That's just wow.
The Triseum Peninsula. We are not far from the Citadel, but I doubt any of the control stations there have survived the battering of the solar flares. Preceptor, can you access the power matrix data feed from here, or do we need to get closer?
Testing. Unable to comply. Disruptions to the photomaneric network are too severe.
There have to be some working consoles somewhere nearby. The magnetic storms have disrupted a great many systems. We're going to have to redirect power flow where to possible. See that blue node? It isn't receiving power. We need to find an emitter to send a beam of light to the node. When it's glowing brightly, we'll know we've successfully tapped into the power matrix.
So this is where the teaching side of things comes in. I mean, as soon as you see f of x, makes it pretty clear. So we click on f of x, and then it says here, place the left-sided orb on the graph at the point of interest. So it's basically saying, put it where there is a mathematical limit, which continues to the left direction, but not to the right, like so. See? So by placing the left-sided orb on the point of interest, you indicated that it had a limit from the left. The graph of the function approaches that point of interest from the left side. So that's where it starts introducing the mathematical theory. And it gets more complex than that, of course, but that's sort of the beginning idea, the direction in which a limit approaches. And so here, again, so now we just have to think about, okay, which one has a limit approaching from the left? And it'll be that bottom one because, well, there's something on the left. If we'd put it on the right one, that would have been wrong because there's nothing coming from the left.
Something is seriously awry here.
The energy limiter to this emitter has been disrupted.
That's not as bad as it could be. You should be able to use your staff to attune the limiter to this crystal.
And so now it's basically find every single point that has a value, that has the graph coming in from the left. So here, there's something coming from the left. Here would be incorrect because there's nothing coming from the left, but here there is. Here there's something coming from the left, and here there is something coming from the left. One's up top, so that point, individual point, has nothing coming from either side, and then the other point over here, that has nothing to the left again. So things do adjust a little bit, but for the most part, that's sort of one of the basic ideas we hold on to.
Allowing the function controlling energy input and output to be adjusted. Since the standardized notation was introduced, boards upon a graph interface have been used to simplify function coding.
So we can look at the map. So that's where we are, and there's places to go.
Can you connect to the power matrix data feed from here?
Negative. No modulated data signal within the local photomoneric network. However,
So in this case, we've now got lefts and rights. So we go, okay, the limit is approaching from the left on the bottom, and the limit is approaching from the right on the top.
Has data access.
There we go. Nice and straightforward.
Water route into the city.
Then we've got this one. So now we actually have two graphs. So we're going to have to think, okay, which one do we want to open and all of that. So here, nice and simple, straightforward, goes like that. Now, because we're trying to get over that bridge over there, as opposed to getting in this doorway, I'm just going to check inside that doorway to see if there's anything fun, anything cool. I didn't actually check it the first time I went in. So there's that.
centuries after the rise, Kalos held a grand ceremony at the Citadel, to which all the Mantha were invited. He asked his twin daughters what they should do with the nanocrystals to advance Manthan society. Ava gave an impassioned speech about understanding the mysteries of the universe, the empowerment of philosophy and art, and the pursuit of the ideals of a perfect society. Vatra spoke instead of the crystal's capacity to enhance everyday life, to create superior housing, new transportation systems, and practical improvements to all aspects of Manthan life. Kalos was so moved by his daughter's visions that he decreed that each should have a city built in their name, where their dreams could be made a reality. End of law.
So having sort of all those cool little bits and pieces, again, increases that engagement in the world. So I used to love coming here to ponder the aesthetics of the landscape and the origins of the Lapis Sol. I don't know what I enjoy more, contemplating their beauty or decoding their mathematical mysteries. Lapis Sol, the largest kind of crystal known, capable of harvesting photomoneric energy within their lattices. So it's quite cool how they do sort of bring in the idea that the reason why it's all mathematical and everything is because the technology requires that, and that's actually accurate to the real world as well. So it's quite nice that they do that. So now we look at g of x, solve that. So again, we're looking for stuff approaching from the right instead of the left. Because it is still sort of the introductory tutorial stuff, it's not too it's not like they're going to throw us any massive curveballs. And now that light's going to the right place, so we can keep going. Move on to that one. So this is a bit more complex. We're looking at coming from the left and the right. So basically we just want that shaded side facing where the graph is coming from. We have it like that. Voila. There we go. So now it works. Now if we have a look at this guy,
It is well known that the Mantha of the addition of emitters provided an ad hoc means of extending the reach of the underground crystal network by firing beams of light to transfer power. Nodes upon every device receive power and glow to indicate they are connected to the matrix. In this way, the Mantha of the Third Era compensated for the limits of their knowledge through application of their ingenuity.
And again, something else that's not actually too far off our own history.
Alas, the bridge is broken. You might still be able to jump across, though.
Yeah, so not too different from our own history, wherein, like, take for example the medieval era. Over in England, most of them didn't actually understand how the Roman technology, like buildings and aqueducts, baths, all those kind of things actually worked, so they just kind of used it in the best way possible, until eventually they were able to make something better.
You won't remember the Lapisotomies from our last meeting. Receptor?
Everything that receives power has an energy limiter. If that is damaged or out of tune, no energy can be channeled to it.
If we're going to get further along this path, you're going to have to try and fix some of these broken limiters.
Since energy is required to power devices, malfunctioning energy limiters disable equipment entirely.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, they're giving a purpose for actually doing this. Instead of just simply saying you have to do it for the sake of doing it, which unfortunately some educators do, we can instead do it this way. So here we want it where it's not approaching from either side, but it exists. So this full point here, like so. Because over here, it's an empty point on the graph. Therefore, the limits don't actually, the graph doesn't exist at that point.
Confirmed. No records exist for the current location of the Mantha.
And then there's you. You have been appearing, working with me. But we don't know where you are coming from or even who you are. Somewhere in the Citadel or the great.
So yeah, we're basically looking for those filled in points for this one. And we can come through here. Now here, sort of problem solving becomes a bit of a bigger thing, as you will shortly see. So we've got that there, got that there, we've got that as a full point, and technically, okay, so as it says here, a point of interest may have multiple traits, but these orbs need only match one trait. Soon you will create orbs that fully describe the traits. So that comes in a bit later. Yeah. So I've got that one done. Then we come over here. So we can do f of x. So we want those points that are whole. There we go. Now in this case it's lighting that up. However, we still need more power coming to that main point, which it may come from this, or it may come from something else. So we'll try this one out. So going from that side, that's a full point. Going from that side and going from that side. There we go. So that's actually powered that bridge. So what that suggests is maybe the previous power limiter crystal redirector thingy it has another place that it can link to, which we did see that originally there were two spots, just one of them didn't open the bridge up for us, so we didn't use that. So we've done both of the problems, so we can just activate, and there we go. Now we can get back over that bridge and we can switch the limiter, and then that transmat pad will have everything we need. There we go. So the bridge goes away, but we don't need it at this point. There we go.
Valid assertion. Yet this superior technical competence provided no adequate defense from the escalating solar flares that brought their civilization to an end.
So in this case, we actually have to figure out how to describe it. So here, it's not filled in the center. The limit doesn't exist at that point, so it's anything less than that, but not equal to. So therefore that central point won't be marked. Then we've got nothing to the right, so the right side will not be marked, but what we can do is we can fill in the left side, because the left does exist. There we go. Now that's opened that door, so I'm going to go and explore around in there.
The three eras of the Mantha stand as evidence to the remarkable capacities of the species. Despite their technological advancement, the Mantha of the first era lacked the means to prevent the escalating solar flares that brought their time to an end. In the second era, exiled beneath the ground by the devastation of the cataclysm, the Mantha were reduced to fragile refugees. With the rise, however, these nomads from a greater past proved their tenacity and ingenuity, escaping from the perils below and out into the lush world waiting above. It cannot be denied that the first era possessed greater confidence with the lapis omnis, the nanocrystals that power all aspects of Manthan life. Yet who can deny the evidence? Those of the first era were still rendered powerless in the face of the cataclysm. End of log.
And again, so yeah, bringing in all those bits of the world, it makes you actually want to save the world as opposed to just sit there watching it.
Only problem we are facing. I am convinced of it.
Confirmed.
So again,
Coronal ejection
we have to think about this
responsible
stuff.
for seismic
So for both of these 2 points up top, they're existing on both sides.
We just have to find something
Then
that
for these
still
bottom
has
points, they only exist at that point, whereas these two top points don't exist at that point, but to the sides they do. Hence why we've got the two sides, an individual point, and an individual point. So like in regards to teaching, it's really nice because it means that kids can be just playing along with the game, and they're getting that gradual improvement, and gradually having it become harder, which I really quite like. So here, in this case, for this point, we've got it existing at that point, and it exists on either side. So we can fill in the whole thing. Then the next point down here, it exists to the right, but not to the left, and not at the point itself. Then we have the next point, it exists at the point and to the right, but not to the left. The next point, at the point, not to the right, but to the left. Not at the point, and not to the left, but to the right. And then here, on both sides, but not at the point itself. And then the final one, just at the point. So now we can place these all in order, and it should be fine. There we go. And so that's opened up this door here. So now we still have access to that whole area, and we can figure out that last problem here, which really isn't too bad. It doesn't exist at the point, but it exists on either side. So we go, there you go, and that opened up that door down there. So we can run on through.
another solar flare. There's no time to lose.
Time passes. It cannot be lost.
A metaphor, Preceptor? Try and wrap your flexible mind around the idea.
I quite like those two characters. One of them perfectly logical, and the other one a bit more personable. But both computers.
The building of the new cities was tasked to Castor, whom Callus treated as if he were a son. Working together with Callus's daughters, Castor found ways to bring the unique visions to life. Thus were built the twin cities, far beyond the walls of the citadel. End of log.
There we are, and we can have a look at this one as well.
Patrana, a mechanized paradise, where the citizens were served by new machines beyond anyone's imagining.
And is there something over here? Yep.
A Havana, a city of artists, philosophers, and visionaries who strive together to perfect knowledge and artistry.
So these two cities, they're the ones that were mentioned about in regards to the daughters of that leader earlier on, where there was the picture and then they described it.
Will take us through to the citadel, but we'll need to get it enough power first.
Redirecting sufficient power from nearby sources will permit the functioning of this gate, enabling access to Eosos.
I literally just said that.
So this is as far as I got when I did the playthrough myself, so now we're moving into unknown territory. So I may get some things wrong, but hopefully I'll be able to explain the why of getting things wrong. So here, so again we fill it in, so this point here exists to the right and at the point, but not to the left. Not at the point, not to the right, but to the left. At the point, to the so same as the first point, then same as the second point, then same as the first point, and then same as the second point. Now you may notice I'm doing these just in order. It just makes it easier for me to put them in order. Here we are. So now that there has opened up part of this. However, that's not very helpful because we need to open up the whole thing. So we need to go back and we need to figure out one of the other equations and its limits. So again, from the left, so exists to the left and right, but not at the point. Then exists both left and right and at the point, and then left and right, but not at the point. So we go there, there, and there. Now that has opened up that doorway, so we can run through that doorway, see if that'll help us. Yeah, I must say I would really like it if I could control the camera direction. So it looks like this one here is going to give power to that gate, so it's quite handy to have. that's a cool graph. So the first point exists to the left, but not to the right, and not in the center. Then exists at the point and to the right, but not to the left. There we go. And then the next one exists at the point, but nowhere else. Then this one here exists to the left and right, but not at the point. Exists at the point and to the left, but not to the right. And then exists only to the left. So we go in like so. Yeah. There we go. There we go. And there we go. So now we're able to. So that so it powered that door. Okay, so we're going to need to do this final puzzle for this limiter here. So here we've got to the left but nowhere else, then we've got the point and to the right, then we've got the point left and right, and then we've got to the point and the left, and then only to the right. There we go. You'll notice I'll start going through these a lot faster, because it's sort of the idea that as we do more of these, you should be starting to understand how it all works. So we've got this one. Hopefully this one will power the door. So this is quite fancy. So we've got, okay, so we've got point and to the right, then we've got to the left only, then we've got point and to the right, then we've got point and to the left, then we've got to the right, and then to the left, then we've got point and to the right, we've got to the left, we've got point and to the right, then we've got point and to the left, then we've got to the right, we've got both sides, then we've got and then the point itself. Create and place all orbs at points. There are more points than there are. Oh, that's why, because I missed a couple. Sorry, I'll just because I like these things in order. There we go. So we've got, that's the point, then we've got point and to the left, and then we've got to the right, then we've got to the left and to the right, and then we've got point and to the left. There we go. So this should be all correct. I will admit, when it comes to figuring this out, like in my opinion, this the way this game works, it seems to be quite good at making it make sense regardless of whether you understand maths. However, that is coming from me having experience, having done an engineering degree where this kind of maths is just par for the course. If you don't get it, that would be unfortunate. And so, admittedly, it'd be interesting to know how people find this without having had mathematical experience. There we go. Yep, so that did it. I will say, one thing I've always said to my students, maths is not hard, but we often believe that it is, therefore it is. And that's often what causes the problem. This, however, makes it simple and doesn't let you think that it's necessarily hard, because it's just simply a game, and games are fun. And it's not a game with massive amounts, well, any combat so far that I can see, which makes things even more easy seeming, because as soon as you add combat, then you can die, and if you can die, that makes it a little bit annoying and increases the difficulty in your mind.
Eosos, a magnificently efficient display of architectural prowess. The power conduits are effortlessly concealed throughout. Every city on this world owes a debt to the pioneering work of those that built the Citadel, and the city that grew up around it. If there has ever been a more perfect expression of Palace's leadership, I am unaware of it.
Interfacing with local systems reveals magnetic storms have damaged civic operations significantly.
Even so, the Citadel and the city of Eosos around it are the very nexus of mountain civilization. There will be something to help us here, I am certain.
Yeah. So one game I'll probably do later on, I can't remember the name now for the life of me, but it's actually art history. Now, art history isn't something I've been educated in, so that'll be interesting to see, whereas this one, mathematics, I do understand it already. Where are we going?
Path to the Citadel is irrevocably damaged. Access impossible.
As the seat of government, the Citadel had outstanding command and control facilities. The quakes have devastated it. We are fortunate that the distributary is still intact. It's a tracking station for the power flow. The next best thing to the Citadel's consoles.
Confirmed. The distributary remains fully functional.
Come, we will need to cross the city to get there.
Okey-dokey. Now, can I climb up there? No. Okay. But I would have liked it if they had made the water a bit more, well, in any way, translucent, just because it might have made it a little bit easier. But here we go. So we've got those stairs over there. Go. Oh, one of the orby thingies.
Although I have given you substantial instruction in the operations of the Lapis office, I have not discussed how we came to acquire that knowledge. For centuries, the Manta had lived below ground, unable to escape the darkness. Then, almost overnight, my father was suddenly able to tap the power of the crystals and use them to unite our people. Father never explained how we came to master the Lapis office, how the rise came to power. What happened back then? Those dark caverns that make the rise possible.
So giving more of that sort of background into the world, I do quite like it.
You will need to change the input of energy at the ports. It will allow us to move objects and emitters around the Citadel.
Each port is a branch in the photomaneric power matrix that disperses the energy gathered by the Lapis Soul crystals. Geomagnetic induction incidents have taken many of the emitters off the matrix, disrupting operations.
It seems many things have been thrown out of place by the magnetic storms. With some application, however, you should be able to restore things to their natural order.
Your staff can be used to adjust the flow of energy at a port, changing the behavior of devices connected to that port.
So this is going to be another kind of challenge. There we are. So select an input to change the function output so that the boulder moves away from your path. Do we maybe reach to the limit? Yes. I don't know. So the limit of f of x as x approaches a, limit of f of x as approaches a minus and a plus. Oh, so we want to get to the value of 10. Oh, I see. So, okay, so we've got this value. Select an input to change the function output. Let's go here. So input slider, move the changes the input of a function, so what the value of x is. Select an energy input that would change the output, moving the boulder from the path. By choosing the correct input, you can overcome many obstacles. Okay. So we'll just go there. So that becomes that. Whereas that is also 1. That is also 1. And that's that area. 5, 8, 10. Okay, so it didn't like give a confirmation that it worked. Right. I was thinking why it was so hard for something when they first introduced it. And now we actually have to, yeah. So a single input can produce more than one output depending on the functions. Adjust the input to form a staircase. So we need to get the point at which this value here is 1.2 and this value here is negative 1.2. So, yeah, like that. There we are. And thus makes a staircase. That's quite cool. There we go. Again, would really like control of the camera. So here, rotate the wheels to form a doorway. So now we're starting to use pi and 2 pi and all of that kind of stuff. So we probably want the point wherein they're equal. So where they're both 0.5. So because it's not the case here, we want to find another point on here that's 0.5, which is going to be about there. Which then makes this 1.5, which, because it's the whole the opposite direction, yeah, that makes sense. There we go. And that's, yeah, so more mathematically stuff.
If the slots can be aligned with the tumbler, the door will unlock, permitting access.
So we have to rotate this so that it lines up there, but also keep this lined up there. So we have to find another point where this is at 2 pi. The reason being, at 2 pi it's in the right point, therefore it must be one of the points where it's 2 pi, so it must be here. Or not. We have to take a different limit? No. No. Does not exist. If it okay. What about negative? Because negative 2 pi is the same. Because when you have a circle, that's 1 full rotation is 2 pi, therefore if you go backwards by 2 pi, you've gone forwards as well. There we go. why is this not? Okay. I'm just going to play around with this for a bit. Try and... so the 0 is also... of course, 0, because if it's 0, it hasn't moved at all. Of course. There we go. So these are the different possibilities. And there. So this is a perfect example of how this works. You make mistakes and then you figure out, okay, how does this work? So throughout the process of this, yes, I knew that stuff already, but I was sort of remembering it, was the idea that 2 pi, negative 2 pi, and 0 are all actually the same point in regards a rotation. So now we can get through this door.
We might need to get a little creative here.
Ports can be set
Oh,
to
that's
generate
cool.
outputs infinitely close to a value on one side, permitting additional functionality.
So we're going to have to move this thing so that the beam actually hits the right place. We want it to move to the 2. So we need to find where that's equal to 2. The thing is, this is where we have to find the right function. We want it where it's a minus, so moving to the negative direction, like so. Whereas had we taken that point or over to the other side, it wouldn't have worked. And that's where that earlier stuff comes in handy for learning, so that we're thinking about those graphs and all of that. It's quite cool in my opinion. This is a good game. I mean, we'll see if I keep saying that when the stuff gets more complex and to a point where my brain hurts, but who knows? So, yep, so another one of these. So again, so in this case, we want that door open whilst keeping this here, or that door open whilst having that in front of there. And now we have those limits, so that's where this stuff comes more in handy. So if we move it to, let's say, here, how does that end up working? And if we go a minus, nope, a plus, there we go. So in this case, this is the green function, this is the blue function. The blue is 4 when you go forward, therefore a plus or a would have worked, but in this case we wanted a value of pi here, so we had to go forward from that point. I am liking this. Sorry, this is... personally, I'm of the opinion that if you can teach with something like video games, always do it. So this is making me very, very happy in so many ways.
Not sure what I should say. I've not spoken like this before, knowing my voice could be heard again by others, by strangers perhaps. My sister and I make a great team, and with Castor's aid there feels like nothing we can't achieve. But I can't help wondering what happened to Mother. Father never speaks of her, and my memories are hazy. Did the demon of the dark take her? I feel such hatred flowing from Father whenever it is mentioned.
Mm.
This sounds different from before. An older recording, perhaps?
Sounds like there's trouble in paradise. So that one's locked, however this one is open, so we must need to solve that to unlock the other one. There
I have
we go.
analyzed this system, and there is no configuration that will allow the wheels to line up to permit access.
Perhaps we don't need them to line up. We could use a phase anomaly to our advantage here.
If an input is supplied to a crystal for which the output energy does not exist, a phase anomaly occurs, and the crystal, and whatever is linked to it, will vanish.
They can be dangerous, but right now it could be useful to us.
So allowing now for where something doesn't exist. So we move that to there. They're all lined up, all that. So there we go. So in both cases, the value does not exist at A because of that switching point. So I mean, we could also do it like that as well, but the problem is then the other area still has that problem. So doing that means that they don't exist in both cases, and that's unlocked this. So now we can, I'm just going to go to each of the limit points. No, I should be able to do this properly. Okay, so we want it to be equal, let's have them both equal to pi, so we want to be going to the left, so we want to be going, to the right, so we want to be going positive. But then, oh no, because we want to be at the 2 pi or 0. Oh, so if we go negative, then that'll be perfect because the top one is 0 in the negative direction or approaching 0, and the other one's 2 pi, which is the same as 0. So if we go negative, there we go. Perfect. Yes. Guess and check is an option, but it probably shouldn't be taken.
There are cases where they simply cannot exist.
Curiosity not indicated in this case. If a function has different limits when approached from either side, the implied two-sided limit does not exist.
Yes, I know that. But it is still an odd phenomenon. And useful too, since we can use this to trigger phase anomalies to our advantage.
And I think the reason they've put in those two characters, you've got the very logical computer one, which basically talks like someone who knows maths and thinks everyone should know it. Then you have the other one who's kind of like, yeah, I understand how this works, but it's interesting and not necessarily everyone understands. So I quite like that.
Recommend it, but it may become necessary to transmaterialize without using a path.
Safety tolerances will be exceeded when using transmaterialization without paths.
Yes, I didn't say it was safe, but it works.
If an emitter connects with an already powered node, the surplus energy can be used to initialize transmaterialization between points without needing a path.
Ooh.
But safety tolerances will be exceeded.
Yeah. So the gate ahead is closed, but the lock is nearby. You should be able to travel to both connections by doing that. So we'll do that puzzle. There we go. Ah, so one graph is according to that. So we want -2 for the white graph, so f of x, and we want 3 for the green. So where is that going to be the value? Let's find a value of 3 for the green. So that point there works. Oh wait, we want +3, don't we though? Wait a minute. So I mean we're getting close to the light, but we're not. Wait a minute. So f of x is 0.3. So we want it to be -2. Huh. So there it's 2, which is incorrect, because we need it to be -2. Connecting an orange node, creating a transmat connection, minus. Oh, so no, that does work. Yeah, because we can't get that -2. Ah, I see, because they're added together. So the values are added together. It's not that one's the transmat and the other one's that. So if we go to 4 and we go positive, because we're wanting that, then we get that one as well. Oh, do we? No, we don't. Do we? Because they're added together. No, we don't quite get what we were wanting there. Yikes. But for -2, what we can do, and then we have a negative, there we go, there's -2. So now we have that. So technically, does that mean we can transmat? Yes, we can. Very good, which that then allows us to unlock the door, and then we're going to have to shift it over to the other side. Now in this case we have 3. So we want them all to have a value of 0, 2 pi, or negative 2 pi. So we've got to find that. So for this blue one, there's no time where it's negative 2 pi, but there are times where it's 0. However, where it's 0, it's not negative or positive 2 pi, or 0 for the other ones. However, so if we, again, this point isn't going to work because it's pi and pi up there. Whereas here, we can look at this point. It doesn't quite, unless, so we put that, there's a does not exist, which is quite good. I do like that. But, so a positive, yeah, doesn't work for that one. So if we go does not exist, woohoo, does not exist there, but that doesn't help. Okay, so this bottom one, we're going to have it as a does not exist. So we want to be looking at the other ones, other points. Okay. Does not exist, and 1.5 pi. Also not helpful. However, nope, that's not, nope. Oh, wait a minute, we actually want that to be, wait a minute. Oh no, we do want it to be, we just need them all lined up, don't we? Okay. So, if we go to there, does that mean that it's all lined up? No, we need it. Yeah, so where those little arrows are, that's where we want it. So we want it as negative pi by half? Yes. That's the only time that value exists there. That's a fun one. Okay. Let's think about this. Negative half pi. Okay. And that becomes 2 pi. Okay, so mathematically, sorry, this may take me a moment. But 1.5 pi will also do the job, which is, well, that's 1.7, not 1.5. But this here is 1.5 if we go in the positive direction. There we go. This is good. Especially having that interaction between the different graphs. No, I like this. I like it a lot. There we are. So now we need to go back to that point where the two functions added together are equal to 3. So we want, now that's 1 plus 1, but this here is going to work as, and yeah, we still have it as that negative. Therefore, because negative, you end up getting that 1, and negative, you also get that there. And so now we can transmit over, and the door is open due to what we just finished. Oh, I liked that. Oh dear.
Coronal mass ejections trigger flux transfer, initiating geomagnetic induction currents, dissipating to ground locally.
That doesn't sound good. So align platforms to create paths to the left, the right, and once the bridge has been extended, in the center. So we basically need to line up all of these points. So we need to have them have the exact same value. That's not too hard, actually. There we go. I think. Oh, no, we want them getting over to there. So we're actually wanting, yeah, -2 value for all of them. So -2 is there, but then it's also there. as long as we pick the negative for the white up there. There we go. So that does that one. We have this one. Align the emitter beam to the node, so f of x plus g of x equal to 2. So in this case, we can actually move it to here, and because it's f of a as a point, it's 0 at that point, and then it's 2 up there, therefore it works. So now, we've got that. What we're probably going to have to do, yep, we're going to have to move those over to now be positive 2, all of them. So that's going to be there, but we're going to be looking at a positive limit for the white equation again, and there we go. I will note, I haven't done this kind of stuff probably for years. Like, I have done it, but it hasn't been for a number of years, so I'm quite happy how this is all going. That it's all sort of coming back to me. It's great for refreshing my memory, actually. So we need a value of 2 when they're added together. So where will that work? No, that's not going to give it. No. Okay, let's think about this. And they both have to exist from the looks of things. The only point I'm thinking that might work is there. When we go to the positive. Oh no, that ends up being 2.5, which isn't quite what I'm looking for. However, this point at f of a is 3. Damn it. So we want a value of 2. Let's see, value is 1. Not of 2. Will we get a D&E if we put that there? Nope, that doesn't. Nope. No, because that'll be, if we go positive, that'll be 3, which is still, yeah, no, still too high. Unless, of course, we try to play with the does not exist. Yeah, as soon as you do it does not exist, it disappears, and the result does not work. We need a value of 2. Oh, yes, sorry. Halfway through there, because there's value of 3 there. Then there's the negative 1 there. There we go. And we didn't even need to adjust the kind of limit that was being done. And now we just have to align these one more time. And we need to align them to the value of 0. Which is not too bad, and we just go with the negative value so that it goes into the back. Although negative or at the point would have also worked, because if we go f of a, it still also works because of what was being done previously where we were looking at those limits and stuff. There we go.
Good. We're making progress.
Oh, there we are. And I am very happy with myself. Maybe inordinately so. Anything up here? Ooh.
In devising the tower, Kalos was somehow able to reconnect with some fragment of the lost knowledge of the first era. It is still a matter of some speculation what drove him to develop this plan to use the power of the crystals to build upwards. A common speculation is that it was fear of the demon of the dark, the unseen marauder of the caverns, which drove him. Yet the tower was far more than a mere ladder. The power of the Lapis soul had been tapped again, unleashing the energy stored within the planet once more.
Interesting. I must say, one thing that would, well, one of many things that I've already sort of talked about, that might be cool to add into this is actually having people around.
Division operators permit control of the angle of the projected beam by taking the
That's fun.
crystal output.
That was the point I was making. Thank you very much.
Yep, so now instead of adding them together, adding the functions together and getting the combined limit, we're looking at the divided value. So in this case, 2 divided by -1 becomes negative 2. But we want a half. So we're going to be looking at something like 4 and 2, or 2 and 1, which there is a 2 and a 1. There we go. Oh wait, no, we want a half, sorry. 2 and 4, so we want it the other way around actually. Yeah. Well, that's fun. Oh, of course, yeah, so we just make it the positive limit, and then it becomes that half. Sweet. And now we can transmat up to here. Oh, because there's trees in the way, I see. Are they going to say anything? Nope, okay.
Preceptor, if the distributary can't get us data access, where else might we have a working fleet?
The master knows that the city's power division is located at the Archivaria. Logically, that would provide an alternative point of access.
The distributary is closer, though. We should try there first.
Okay. Okay, so again we want that 2 pi or 0 or negative pi value. So that means we're gonna have to, wait a minute. Or just sort of close enough, which works for this. However, I have a feeling it's not going to work so well. So no, I do need to set, oh yeah, so it'll be able to hit that -4. So it's a plus operator again. So we're adding together the two values. So we want to find a point where the two values add to be -4, which in this case is that, and we can go positive or negative in this case. That should be -4. Ah, right, no, we have to go positive to allow for the blue. And so now we have to adjust this again. So we want it to be more negative. So let's move it to there. There we go. So now we can do that transmat. Teleportation over to there. That does that job. Now which way do we need to go? Not that way. This way. There we are. Anything over here? No. I am liking this. Although we have never before had a reason to travel beyond our world, I now see the possibility of saving our people. While propulsion for personal transport is hardly unfamiliar, it never occurred to me that something on the scale of a city could extend those principles into an interstellar context. Yet it can and must be so. These star arcs I propose are the only possibility that any of the Mantha might escape the new cataclysm, but it will not be possible to house all our people in the number we could build with the available resources. Difficult decisions must be made. So that must be where everyone is then.
The solar flares are becoming more frequent. This cannot be good.
Periodicity of coronal mass ejection events irregular, but mean interval decreasing.
That's exactly what I just said.
Dear. So we've got a divider and we want either -1/2 or 1/2. -1/2 or 1/2. And it's a divisor. Yep, and we do that to the positive. No. What? Because that's 1. Oh, right, yeah, no. Okay. It's 2 divided by 3, but that is 1.5, which does work. There we go. So now we can transmit over there, we can sort that one out. So what are we doing? We want them all to be at 2, I think. Yes. So we want that, and we want the negative. Or not. Okay. No, that's 3, not 2. Damn it. But here, however, that's not what we want. We actually want 3. Okay. Yeah, 3 seems to be where it lines up. So do we have that value there? Yes, we do. There we go. And then we need to transmit back. And then we need to set it up for the other side so that we can finish that off. So we need that negative 1/2. So if we go here and we go negative, because we've got a negative value of 2 and then a positive value of -1, that gives us a negative 1/2. Go. And we put that in there. And again, we want that value of 3, so they're all lined up nicely. So let's find a point where they all can have the value of 3. Or not. Oh no. Don't tell me that. No. That's not gonna do it. Oh no. Oh wait a minute. No, it will still work. Just need to find. There we go, and we need the positive measure. There we go. Good. So now we can go back, and we've done what we needed to do for that, and the path works, which is good.
Excellent work.
Man, I really want to keep going. But we will stop it there. And I will continue this on Monday. So here in New Zealand, it's Friday at the moment. So yeah, I will continue this on Monday. I do hope you enjoyed. And if you did, do please come back next time. Goodbye.